Helios V had always been a beacon of hope for humanity, a thriving colony on the edge of the Deltara Nebula. The planet's surface shimmered with crystalline lakes, its skies painted in hues of deep violet and gold, from the twin suns that bathed the world in light. For years it had been a symbol of human ambition and resilience, a testament to humanity's ability to carve out a place among the stars. But this paradise was shattered on a cold, fateful night when the colony's silence screamed louder than any distress call ever could. It started with a routine patrol. Captain Elaine Marrow of the Galactic Alliance vessel Aurora was stationed in the sector, monitoring trade routes and escorting freighters. The crew had just settled into their evening routines when a young ensign's voice broke the monotony. "Captain, I'm picking up a faint signal from Helios V," the ensign reported. "It's fragmented, almost like an echo." Marrow frowned, her mind racing. The colony's communications were state-of-the-art, designed to withstand interference from both natural and artificial sources. For a signal to degrade this badly, something was wrong. "Patch it through," she ordered. The bridge filled with crackling static, punctuated by brief, garbled phrases. Words like attack, breach, and massacre filtered through the noise, sending a chill down the crew's spines. Then, a single clear message broke through. "Helios V, we are under attack. Repeat, we are under..." And then, silence. "Get me a visual on Helios V," Marrow barked, her voice steely. The ship's scanners focused on the planet, projecting an image onto the central display. What they saw made the seasoned captain's stomach churn. Helios V, once vibrant and teeming with life, now lay in ruins. Massive plumes of black smoke rose into the atmosphere, choking the skies. Fires raged uncontrollably across the colony's central districts, their orange glow a stark contrast against the planet's darkened surface. The orbital station that had once been a hub of commerce and diplomacy hung lifeless, its hull riddled with breaches and debris. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Kren, the ship's tactical officer. It's a graveyard." "Nothing." Marrow didn't respond. Her eyes were fixed on the devastation, her mind already working through the implications. She knew they had to act quickly. "Prepare a landing party," she commanded. "I want boots on the ground in 10 minutes. We need survivors, intel, anything." The shuttle descended through the scorched atmosphere, its engines straining against the turbulent winds generated by the fires below. Captain Marrow, along with a team of Alliance Marines and medical personnel, braced for landing. The colony's main square came into view, or rather, what was left of it. The once bustling plaza was now a field of charred rubble and mangled bodies. Death itself, the famous skull and crossbones, came into view as the pack rushed forward to put themselves. The moment the shuttle's ramp lowered, the team was hit by the stench of death. It was overpowering, a sickening mix of burnt flesh and chemical fumes. The medics began scanning for life signs while the Marines secured the perimeter. Marrow stepped cautiously into the wreckage, her heart heavy. "Captain," one of the Marines called out, pointing to a half-collapsed structure. "We've got movement." The man scooped up and carried the structure closer. Marrow hurried over, her hand resting on the sidearm holstered at her hip. Beneath the rubble, a figure stirred. It was a young woman, her face smeared with soot and her clothes torn. Her eyes fluttered open, filled with terror. "Help, please," the woman croaked. "We've got a survivor," Marrow shouted, waving the medics over. As they worked to stabilize the woman, Marrow knelt beside her. "You're safe now," she said gently. "What happened here?" She shrugged off the concern and crossed to the side of the bed. The woman's breath hitched as tears streamed down her face. "They came from nowhere," she whispered. "Ships. So many ships. They tore through our defenses like paper. They didn't want anything. They just killed. Good. Who? Marrow pressed. Who attacked you? The woman's eyes widened, her voice dropping to a trembling whisper. Exogarth. Marrow's blood ran cold. The Zygarths were a name spoken in hushed tones throughout the galaxy, a ruthless band of pirates known for their unparalleled brutality. But even they had never committed an atrocity on this scale. "Captain," a Marine interrupted, his voice tense, "you'd better take a look at this." He led her to the edge of the plaza, where a massive, grotesque symbol had been scorched into the ground. It was the emblem of the Zygarth Syndicate, unmistakable in its jagged, chaotic design. Surrounding it were the bodies of dozens of colonists, arranged in a horrifying display of mutilation. The message was clear: fear us. Marrow clenched her fists, fury boiling within her. She turned to her team, her voice firm. "Document everything. We need evidence. And get a full sweep of the colony. There might be more survivors." As the team spread out, Marrow activated her communicator. "Aurora, this is Marrow. We've confirmed an attack by the Zygarths. Helios V it's gone. Requesting immediate reinforcements and medical ships." This is bigger than a pirate raid. This was a message. Hours later, the team returned to the Aurora, carrying the few survivors they had found. The ship's medbay was overwhelmed, its corridors filled with the injured and dying. Marrow stood in the war room, her gaze fixed on the holographic map of the sector. Beside her, Lieutenant Kren analyzed the data they had gathered. "The Zygarths hit fast and hard," Kren said. "Their fleet, it's larger than anything we've seen before. They're not just raiding anymore. They're expanding." Marrow nodded, her expression grim. "And they're making an example of us. They want humanity to fear them, to submit." Kren hesitated. "Do you think the Alliance will step in?" Marrow's lips pressed into a thin line. "We'll send our report. But the Alliance moves at a glacial pace. By the time they'd decide to act, the Zygarths could wipe out another colony." She turned to face her crew, her voice resolute. "We can't wait for them. Humanity's survival is at stake. If the galaxy won't stand with us, we'll fight alone. Prepare the fleet. We're going hunting." The crew saluted, their faces a mix of fear and determination. As the Aurora powered up its engines, the survivors of Helios V watched from the medbay windows. For the first time since the attack, hope flickered in their eyes. Humanity had discovered its enemy, and now it was ready to fight back. Helios V, a thriving colony that had once stood as a testament to humanity's boundless ambition, was now a silent graveyard. Captain Elaine Marrow stared at the shattered remains of the colony through the viewport of her ship, the Aurora. The devastating broadcast of the massacre had reached every corner of the galaxy, but seeing it firsthand struck her harder than any transmission could. "Lieutenant Kren," she called, her voice cold and steady. "Prepare a landing team. I want a full survey of the damage and any survivors brought aboard immediately. We'll begin in 10 minutes. Kren saluted crisply. "Yes, Captain. Shall I deploy drones for reconnaissance?" Marrow nodded. "Do it. Let's make sure there are no lingering hostiles." The Aurora dispatched a swarm of drones into the atmosphere of Helios V, their sensors scanning for life signs, atmospheric anomalies, and structural instabilities. The data they returned painted a grim picture. Massive fires still raged across several sectors, and the air was thick with smoke and chemical toxins. A sign that survivors might still be clinging to life amid the chaos. "Captain, I've identified 5 clusters of potential survivors," Kren reported. "Most are located in underground shelters, but there's also a distress beacon active near the colony's primary reactor." Marrow's brow furrowed. "A distress beacon? Could it be automated?" Unlikely, Kren replied. The signal's too irregular. Someone's manually broadcasting. Then we prioritize that location, Marrow said firmly. Let's move out. Rick said. The landing shuttle touched down near the remains of Helios V's central plaza. The scene was even worse up close. Once a bustling hub of activity, the plaza was now a charred wasteland. Rubble and ash blanketed the ground, and the air was thick with the acrid stench of burnt flesh. Bodies lay scattered in grotesque displays, some mutilated beyond recognition. Marrow's jaw tightened as she surveyed the destruction. Stay sharp, she warned her team. We don't know what we're walking into. The team fanned out, their weapons drawn and their eyes scanning every shadow. They advanced toward the source of the distress beacon, a small building partially collapsed but still standing. The signal grew stronger as they approached. Captain, one of the Marines called out. I've got movement inside. Marrow raised a hand, signaling for the team to hold position. She stepped forward, her weapon at the ready. This is Captain Marrow of the Galactic Alliance ship Aurora, she called. If anyone's in there, identify yourself. For a moment there was silence. Then a faint voice replied, trembling and weak. The doctor laying on the couch. Please. Marrow signaled to her team. Get that door open. The Marines moved swiftly, using a plasma torch to cut through the warped metal door. Inside, they found a small group of survivors huddled together. Most were injured, their clothes tattered and their faces gaunt with fear. Among them was a young boy clutching a blood-stained toy, his eyes wide and unblinking. It's okay, Marrow said gently, kneeling beside them. You're safe now. We're here to help. The group was evacuated to the shuttle, where medics began treating their injuries. As they worked, Marrow questioned one of the survivors, a woman named Dara, who appeared to be the leader of the group. What happened here? Marrow asked. Dara's hands trembled as she spoke. They came out of nowhere. The Zygarths. They overwhelmed our defenses in minutes. They didn't ask for anything, didn't make any demands. They just killed. Why? Marrow pressed. Why target Helios V? She pointed at Dara shook her head. I don't know. But it wasn't just random. They were methodical. They knew exactly where to strike. Marrow's mind raced. The Zygarths were notorious for their brutality, but even they rarely carried out attacks on this scale. Something about this didn't add up. Something lower and lower. Did they leave anything behind? Any indication of their motives? Gremspotter guessed as they turned to the ramparts. Dara hesitated, then reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data drive. This was recovered from one of their ships. I don't know what's on it, but it might help. Marrow took the drive, her expression grim. We'll find out. You've done well, Dara. Rest now. Cerestal laughed. Rest? Never mind, Dara. Back aboard the Aurora, Marrow convened with her senior officers in the ship's war room. The data drive was connected to the central computer, and Lieutenant Kren began decrypting its contents. The encryption's advanced, Kren said, frowning, but I've got a partial decryption. It looks like targeting data. Targeting data? Marrow repeated, leaning closer. Kren nodded. Coordinates for human colonies, outposts, and military installations. This wasn't just an attack on Helios V. It's part of a larger campaign. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Zygarths weren't just raiding, they were waging war. This was good. Captain, Kren continued, there's more. The data mentions something called Project Eclipse. I'm not sure what it is, but it's linked to the Zygarths' operations. Marrow's jaw tightened. Find out everything you can about this Project Eclipse. If it's connected to the attacks, we need to know. Yes, Captain, Kren said, already working. Over the next several days, the Aurora continued its investigation, following leads and piecing together the Zygarth's plans. Each new discovery painted a darker picture. The Zygarths weren't just targeting human colonies. They were coordinating with other pirate factions, pooling resources, and acquiring advanced weaponry. Their goal was clear: the complete eradication of humanity's presence in the galaxy. But why? That question remained unanswered, and it haunted Marrow as she stared at the holographic map of the sector. She knew time was running out. If the Zygarth's plans weren't stopped, countless more lives would be lost. "Captain," Kryn said, interrupting her thoughts, "I've decrypted more of the data. Project Eclipse isn't just a code name. It's a weapon." Marrow turned sharply. "What kind of weapon?" Kryn hesitated. "I don't have all the details, but it's big. The data suggests it's capable of destroying entire planets." The room went silent. Marrow felt a chill run down her spine. The stakes had just been raised to a level she hadn't anticipated. Blacklock faced the dark presence again, this time with greater clarity. "Where is it?" she demanded. It was time. The fleet was ready and the Vengeance stood at the forefront, its engines glowing with power as it prepared to drop out of hyperspace. Lang stood at the bridge of the Perseverance, his hands clenched on the console. His heart raced, not out of fear, but anticipation. The pirates had established their base in the Scorpion Belt, a treacherous stretch of asteroid fields and derelict space stations. Lang had been there before, and he knew the area well. This was their home turf. But home turf meant nothing when you were facing a force that could wipe you out in an instant. "We've located the pirate stronghold, Captain," reported Lieutenant Saren, his voice tight with the same anticipation that filled the rest of the crew. "Good. Set course and prepare for combat," Lang ordered. "It's time to make them understand that humanity is no longer a victim." The fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, a shadow descending on the Scorpion Belt. Pirate ships, unaware of the incoming assault, continued their business. Until the Vengeance fired its first shot. The massive ship's energy cannons lit up, obliterating a pirate vessel in an instant. The blast was so intense that it lit up the belt like a star going supernova. The pirates scrambled to respond, but they were far too slow. Lang's fleet was relentless, cutting through their forces with precision. Pirate ships exploded in showers of sparks, their crews helpless to fight back. The pirates had never faced anything like this. Then, Lang's eyes locked onto the Scorpion Belt's central station, the heart of the pirate fleet. It was time to end this once and for all. With a swift command, he directed the Vengeance toward the station. "Prepare to board," Lang said, voice cold. As the crew readied themselves, Lang donned his helmet and made his way to the airlock. He wasn't just fighting for revenge anymore. This was a statement. And when he boarded that pirate station, he would make sure every pirate there understood the price of their cruelty. The station loomed ahead, and Lang's blood ran cold. The pirates had done more than just kill civilians. They had underestimated humanity. Now they would pay the ultimate price.